Hola, hola, hola y bienvenidos. Saludos, saluditos. El nombre que nos dieron es Wendelin y con les compa Judith, Yaya y Catalina somos el equipo de justicia del lenguaje para nuestro tiempo juntos.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. The name we were given is Wendelin, and together with Judith, Yaya, and Catalina, we are the language justice team for our time together.
Ahora, les invitamos a prestar atención a las siguientes instrucciones bilingües en inglés y español, ya que el crear espacios multilingües es un esfuerzo colectivo que requiere nuestra presencia y participación activa.
So we invite you to pay close attention to the following bilingual instructions in English and Spanish, as creating multilingual spaces is a collective effort and requires our active participation and presence.
Ahora, una de las herramientas que estaremos usando hoy para facilitar nuestros intercambios es la función de interpretación de Zoom.
One of the tools we'll be using to facilitate our exchanges today is the Zoom interpretation function.
Ahora, la función ya está activada.
So the interpretation feature is already activated.
Ahora, todos están invitados a seleccionar un canal de idioma, a no ser que entiendan ambos idiomas en los que estaremos interpretando, en inglés y el español.
So everyone is invited to choose a language channel unless you understand both languages that we'll be interpreting in, English and Spanish.
Y para seleccionar su canal de idioma, aquellas personas usando computadoras van a ver un icono de globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla con la palabra interpretación. Hagan clic en el globo, seleccionen inglés o español.
To choose a channel for those using computers, you'll see a globe icon at the bottom of your screen with the word interpretation. So click on it and choose either English or Spanish.
Ahora, si se unieron por teléfono inteligente o por tableta, van a buscar los 3 puntos donde dice más, selecciónelo. Entonces, de la lista, seleccione inglés o español y luego seleccione finalizado o done, que es en sí lo que activa la función.
If you're joining via smartphone Zoom app or tablet, look for the 3 dots where it says more, tap on it and select language interpretation. Choose English or Spanish and make sure that you select done because that's what activates the feature.
Ok, van a notar una opción más que se llama silenciar audio original.
Oh.
Nosotros recomendamos no silenciar el audio original.
You're gonna notice one more option, which is called mute original audio. We recommend not muting original audio.
Y asegúrense de estar en el canal correcto al participar, ¿verdad? El idioma que sale de tu boca es el canal en el que debe estar. De lo contrario, se nos cruzarán los cables y nos perderemos de tu brillantez.
And make sure that you were on the correct channel to participate. The language that you're speaking is the channel you should be on. Otherwise, our wires are gonna get all crossed and we might miss your brilliance.
Ok, ahora, ya que estamos todos ubicados, por favor seleccionen su canal, háganlo ya.
All right, now that we are all situated, please choose your language channel now.
Y si tienen algún problema con la función de interpretación, por favor manden un mensaje directo a RJB por el chat.
And if you're having any issues with the interpretation tech, please send a direct message to RJB.
Ok. Y ahora un momentito a Catalina para que se aliste para interpretar en simultáneo. Ok. Just a moment for Catalina to get ready. Ahora voy a comenzar hablando en español. De aquellas personas que seleccionaron el canal de inglés deben de estar escuchando a Catalina interpretando lo que estoy diciendo. Por favor, denos un shimmy, una movidita de los hombros, tíranos tu emoji favorito, hagan una bulla en el chat, lo que sea, déjenos saber que están escuchando la interpretación en el canal de inglés. ¿Ok? ¿Están bien? Vamos a ver, todo bien. Ok. Now switching to English, right? Let's check on the family on the Spanish channel, right? You know what to do? If you're hearing Catalina interpret this, let us get some of those LJ shimmies, show us those emojis, shout it out in the chat, let us know that you can hear Catalina on the Spanish channel. All right. We see them thumbs up and we see them sunglasses. Yes, thank you, Samantha. Thank you, Rana. Ahora, voy a continuar hablando en español. Sabemos que las niñas, femmes y jóvenes de géneros expansivos racializados hablan, bailan, luchan, aman en múltiples idiomas. Y por eso nuestros movimientos, organización comunitaria y luchas colectivas para cosechar futuros justos y liberados son procesos multilingües. Necesitamos un compromiso de todos para hacer esto un espacio multilingüe. Y estas son algunas de las prácticas de justicia del lenguaje que nos enraizan, ¿verdad? Recordatorio de decir su nombre cada vez que participe. Por ejemplo, este es Wendelin hablando. Y esto es porque la gente que está escuchando la interpretación solo escucha la voz de la persona que está interpretando. Y así no puede darse cuenta si la persona que está compartiendo ha cambiado, ¿verdad? Es un recordatorio de decir su nombre antes de compartir. Próximamente, una invitación a ser consciente de la velocidad al participar, de su ritmo. Vamos a tomar nuestros ritmos en cuenta, ¿verdad? Ahora, si en algún momento necesitamos que hablen de una manera más lenta, claro, con la intención de honrar su mensaje, ¿verdad? Esta es la señal que vamos a usar aquí. Entonces vamos a encender nuestra camarita y nos va a ver hacer así, o dependiendo si estamos sintiéndonos especialmente deliciosos, hacemos así a veces, para que hablen un poquito más despacio para poder honrar su mensaje. Otra manera que nos puede apoyar en este esfuerzo de crear espacios multilingües de una forma colectiva, ¿verdad? Es hablar en voz alta. Si tienes audífono con micrófono, por favor, úsenlos. Esta es la señal que usamos si necesitamos que hablen más fuerte. Así. Y si nos ve hacerla, ustedes también pueden prender su cámara y hacerla con nosotros, porque así logramos que la persona que esté facilitando nos vea más rápido. Aquí tenemos esta, la tradicional, y aquí tenemos esta, la con un poquito más de sazón. Gracias, Catarina, por traer eso al espacio. Ok, ahora, otra cosita que ustedes tienen es a Judith y a Yaya traduciendo sus comentarios en el chat en vivo, ¿verdad? Si puede, por favor, haga su comentario en inglés y español para que todos podamos accederlos con más facilidad. Recomendamos una plataforma que se llama dipo.com para traducir su mensaje, pero si no te sientes cómoda con esa práctica todavía o eso como te intimida un poquito, no te preocupes, ¿verdad? Porque aquí están Judith y Yaya para traducir sus mensajes y asegurar que son disponibles, accesibles para todos. Ahora ahí te compartimos o les compartimos un ejemplo de cómo puede hacer sus comentarios en los dos idiomas. Un idioma primero separado por dos agujitas, dos marquitas, dos slashes así, y después el otro idioma. Ahora, en español van a notar que en lugar de usar las terminaciones en a, O para palabras que se refieren a personas, usamos como en bienvenides o juntes o nosotres, ¿verdad? Ahora, eso no es un error de pronunciación, sino es una decisión muy consciente para resistir el binario de género y también reconocer la expansividad de géneros que se representan, que están presentes en nuestras comunidades. Ahora, hacemos esto cuando nos referimos a un grupo de género mixto. Ahora, claro, una vez que conozcamos tu pronombre de género, eso es lo que usaremos para ti. Y para ayudarnos en honrarte de esa forma, por favor, incluya tu pronombre en tu nombre de Zoom. Now I'm going to switch back to English. I'm going to just give another little reminder to reselect, or just give a reminder, an initial reminder to reselect your language channel when you come back from breakout groups. And once again, if you're having any issues at all with the interpretation tech, you're going to let us know immediately by sending a message to RJB, who's going to help you out. And thank you again for your commitment to language justice, for your curiosity, for your willingness to support this multilingual work of harvesting just futures. And with that, we pass the mic back to Lila.
Hi, everybody. Let me know if you can hear me in the Spanish channel or in this channel. Awesome. I see you, Kat. Muchas gracias. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you haven't already taken the time, please rename yourself so that we can also see your language preferences in your profile name. We're offering a little number system to do that. So if your language preference in the space is Spanish, please put 1 by your name. And I think preferably before your name so that it's easily seen. A 2 if your preference is English, and 3 if your preference is both. And if you can add that to your profile name, the way that I did on mine, if you scroll the mouse over your little picture, it pops up 3 little dots and gives you the option to rename. So you can put 1, 2, or 3, and then your name and your pronouns would be great. Feel free to put any questions if you have any questions in the chat. Give us a beat, un momentico, a little moment. So welcome everyone. As Wendelin said, it takes a village to create a multilingual space. Everything from our practices of naming, making sure that our names are clear and that we're sharing our pronouns and language preferences is part of our commitment to connecting with each other and creating a space that allows for that connection. My name is Lila, and I'm a language justice practitioner. My pronouns are she and they. And I am calling in from Bulbancha, which is was another word for a place that some folks call New Orleans. It's a Choctaw word that means land where many languages. And I'm also a member of Bancha Lengua's Language Justice Collective, based here in Bulbancha. And I came to language justice work through a training that Bancha Lenguas hosted in 2019, a couple of months before the pandemic. I'm really excited in coming in with this energy of just a lot of gratitude because we were able to host a training, our second training since 2019, just this weekend, with a lot of the amazing practitioners and language justice workers that you see here. Catalina and Telesh facilitated the training. UD, who's also a Bancha homie and is supporting on LTT. The live text translation is also with me in this collective. And Wendelin, our homie on the mic, was also present. So we're coming in with a lot of collective learning, I think, and some juices that I'm excited to share. And when I say language justice work, I think I'd love to offer a little bit of some thoughts on what that means to me. Language justice work, in the ways that it feels right now, is the practice of creating space and time for all of our expressions to be able to show up, and to be able to show up fully. And so with that, I'd like to ask Tilesh, invite you into the conversation, your name, your pronoun, and what language justice means to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Telesh Lopez. It's such an honor to be here. And my pronouns are she and her. I currently live in unceded Tongva territories in California, and I am Guatemalan. My family is Maya Canjobal, and that is also the native language that my family has. And I am coming into this work with a lot of heart. You know, when I talk about language justice, it's very hard for me not to feel fluttery and warm, because I know that this work is so impactful and beautiful, and I'm very committed to it. And I'm so committed to it that I and two other folks were part of a Caracol language co-op, and we were a co-op of interpreters, translators, and facilitators in New York. And it was a very beautiful project. Unfortunately, we had to close at the beginning of the pandemic, but our work burst open, right? And our collective was able to, and is continuing to, share their wisdom, their skill with a vast number of organizations in New York and outside of New York. And my commitment to language justice is to, again, do this work from my heart, right? So my commitment is also to share as much of my experience as possible, to inspire curiosity, to inspire folks to really want to take on this task of creating spaces where all of our community's voices are heard and valued. And yeah, that's it. So we are, that's who we are, Lila and I, and we'll be facilitating this session together. And we also want to get to know who's in the room with us, or in this virtual spatial space. And so we wanna get a sense of who's here. So if you can include in the chat your name, your pronoun, the lands you're walking on. If you're part of an organization, you can also share that with us, and also answer that question as well, right? What does language justice mean to you? So if you can add that in the chat, and then I'm gonna read out some of your responses. Okay, we have Josefina Casati. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. She, her, Aya from Grantmakers for Girls of Color. Language justice is ensuring everyone in the room can understand and fully participate. Awesome, we're already on a great start. Look at that. And Samantha Franklin, she, her, from Ms. Foundation for Women based in Denver, the land of Arapaho, Cheyenne. And language justice is inclusion. Thank you. Raquel Thomas, she, her. Oh, I'm gonna try and catch these as much as I can. Language justice means that each person, irrespective of the language they speak, is included in the ongoing process of community organizing. Thank you. Thank you to the folks who are self-translating as well. Really appreciate it. And Kat, she, her, from DC, the unceded ancestral lands of Nakocha. No, sorry, I can't I'm not pronouncing that correctly, Nakottak, in Piscataway. Today I'm representing The Welders, a playwrights collective, but I'm an arts and grants administrator and freelance educator. Language justice for me means truest tongue is safe and I'm not worried about code switching in order to be respected or understood. Yes. All right, I'm gonna read like 2 more before we continue. And hi, I'm Amiya. I go by she, her pronouns, and I'm 16. I am currently living in Ohlone land. I'm part of the organization Radical Monarchs. Yay, Radical Monarchs. As an alumni of the program and a volunteer, to me, language justice means creating a more accessible and inclusive world. Absolutely, Amiya. Thank you so much for sharing. Really appreciate it. And folks, take a moment to read what other folks are sharing about where they're from, and also what language justice means to folks. So I'm gonna, we would love to go over just what we have planned for our time together. Well, I will also want to offer gratitude for choosing to come to this workshop. We're so excited. Every time we see new faces, it's like an opportunity, right, to share space and experience. So for our agenda today, we're going to have an activity, right? We did our welcoming and our introductions, getting to know each other a bit, and then we're going to move into an activity. And then we're going to have group reflections in pairs. And then we're going to debrief as a group. And then we're going to share some resources. So if you are left a bit curious or have some questions, we will be able to share some resources with you all so you can continue learning more about this work. And for folks who are probably already doing some of this work, we hope that some of these resources will also be helpful to you. And after that, we're going to do our closing. So that is what our plan is for us together. We're so excited to have you here. And Lila, te lo paso a ti.
Thanks, Telesh. Muchas gracias. So vamos a hacer una actividad. Vamos a empezar con una actividad. Se dice que se aprende con el juego, ¿verdad? En el jugar. Entonces vamos a hacer un jueguito, invitando una práctica, sabemos que una práctica de vulnerabilidad. Estamos invitando también reflexión de sí misma y tal vez un poquito de valentía, ¿verdad? Porque la
So maybe a little bit of courage, because sometimes being vulnerable with others requires some of that courage. Okay, so I'm gonna explain the rules of the game. We're gonna start with our cameras off and with our mic off. And I'm going to read a sentence. And if this sentence applies to you, if what I'm saying applies to you, then you're gonna turn on your camera. Well, you have 2 options. Either you could turn on your camera or you could put an emoji. If you don't want to turn on your camera, you can put an emoji, or if you want to turn on your camera, you can turn on your camera if the sentence applies to you. Okay? Very well. So we're gonna model it. Let's practice together. The first question or the first sentence is, and I'm gonna switch to English now.
I am a morning person. So if this statement applies to you, please turn your camera on with your cutest morning face. I woke up like this. I see you, Nereida de Puerto Rico, Borinquen. I see you, Samantha. I see you, Rana. Muchas gracias. All right, morning people. Coffee tal vez a las 9. Maybe coffee at 9. All right. And so we'll do that. All right. We'll read different statements. We won't have conversations in between. We'll just invite some noticings, right? What does it feel like for you in answering these questions? What are you noticing is coming up for you? What are you noticing about the room? Just take a moment to look around, okay? So the second statement, when I was little, people spoke a language other than the dominant language in my community. When I was little, people spoke a language other than the dominant language in my communities. Karina, Nereida, Samantha, Iris, Gassi, Josefina y RJP. Muchas gracias. The second statement, I am monolingual. Keep our cameras on if we're monolingual, where we speak one language, either whatever language that is. And we go, thank you. So I am monolingual, I speak one language. The next question. I am bilingual, I speak two languages. Turn on our cameras, throw hands up. Let's see, hands up from a bilingual peoples. Raquel, Rana, Josefina, Neva. I see you, Amia, Davelyn. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing, Casey. And please feel free to correct my pronunciation in the chat. I'll try to do my best. The next statement. I am multilingual, so I speak more than two languages. I see Josefina. And a great question from Raquel. Does AAVE count? Yes, it does. So many Englishes, so many Spanishes. I love that, Raquel. Thank you for speaking that into the room. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, I see Samantha. Thank you for expressing that. Just noticing what that does, opening that space up. I see more people in here now. Let's go on to the next statement. I talk differently with friends and family than I do at work. So I talk differently than I do with friends and family than I do at work. Anybody? Anybody in here with me? Yeah, I see Rana, I see some nods. RJB. Samantha, Josefina, Nereida, Karina, Raquel, Kat. Thanks, y'all. Second, or the next statement. I have been made fun of because of my accent. I have been made fun of because of my accent. I see your thumbs up, your kinda, Kat. The like serious head nod, Nereida. Josefina, I feel that. La próxima. People often don't know how to say my name right. People don't often know how to say my name right. Let's see, fire emoji from Neda, Raquel, Karina. Next statement is, people often don't, the next statement is, I have had to translate for someone in my family. I see Amia, Karina, RJB, a heart. And Cassie. Next statement is, I have felt excluded because of the way I speak or the language I speak. You see an emoji, Karina and Samantha in the room. Yeah, Mia. I see you, RJB. The next statement is, I have excluded others because of language they speak or how they speak. I see you, Talesh, with your realness. I appreciate that. And Karina, y Raquel, y Cassie. Include myself in that mix, and Samantha, Rana, y Josefina. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, y'all, and the vulnerability. And the last statement here is, I have felt included. I have felt included or some kind of privilege because of the way that I speak and or the language that I speak. And inviting us to take a look around. Thank you for sharing, y'all. Muchas gracias. Again, in this practice of vulnerability, you know, and the commitment to show up with vulnerability. So for the next part of this game, please feel free to keep your cams on or off, whatever feels most comfortable for you and supportive. We're going to split up into pairs. We're going to have 8 minutes. I think maybe a little bit of, let's see, yeah, about 8 minutes or so. So about 4 minutes each to share with our partners. And we're going to put the questions that we're going to use to guide our conversation. We're going to put that in the chat. Please remember to copy paste the questions or make note of them before you go into your small breakout room. We're getting the breakout rooms prepped right now. You're going to go into your breakout room with your partner. And the questions are, what did you notice about what was easy? What was hard to share? And what did you notice of others' responses? Just share that right quick for visual. So what did you notice about what was easy? What was hard to share? What did you notice of others' responses? Please keep track of time together, or we invite you to hold that time or that together. And then we'll come back to the larger group after 8 minutes. And we'll ask folks a couple of pairs to share. So before going into our breakouts, please take note of the questions in the chat. You won't have access to this chat once you go into your breakouts. And any questions before we go into our groups around tech? I'm gonna take a pause here. Welcome, bienvenidos. So how was that? ¿Cómo fue eso para ustedes? Voy a compartir algunas preguntas por la caja de mensaje y le vamos a dedicar un par de minutitos a esta pregunta en grupo. ¿Cómo fue para ustedes? Estoy viendo, Raquel dice, fue increíble. Muy bien. Si hay cosas que personas quieren poner por la caja de mensaje, están bienvenidas. La pregunta es, ¿te ha sorprendido algo? ¿Cómo fue la experiencia? ¿Te ha sorprendido?
How was your experience? Did something surprise you? Did you learn something about your own privilege and access?
¿Cómo has excluido a otros?
And how have you excluded others? Or maybe how have you justified that in the moment?
Y vamos a tomar 2 minutitos.
And we're going
darle
to take 2 minutes to allow the spaciousness for someone to share in the language they'd prefer.
para ustedes que hablan.
How did that go for y'all? What did y'all talk about? What themes came up?
Tal vez, Raquel, me encantaría saber qué
Maybe Raquel, I would love to know what was incredible about the experience for you.
Yes. So it was amazing because the beautiful person that I was matched with is in Puerto Rico. And one thing that we talked about is that being bilingual is a privilege, which is funny because, you get to be in two different worlds, but then also you can help other people. Like I shared a story of how knowing Spanish helped me help someone in the nail salon. But then I also said that um, I always say like, no tengo la confianza a hablar español. Like I don't have the confidence to speak Spanish, but that's not an excuse. I can download an app and refine the skills that I have learned in school, especially to show up for my community. And that's just a small way. And then we also talked about introspection and how introspection is difficult. I shared a quote that says, and I don't know who the original person is, but it says something like, yesterday I was smart and I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise and I decided to change myself. And I think that when you look inward and you figure out, well, how can I play an active role in the fight against racism, violence, and discrimination? When you start with yourself, then it makes it easier to do things like my partner says happened in Puerto Rico after the environmental issues they were having. They shared that there's such power in the community and that people were organizing themselves without the help of the government. And then that made me think like, what if we all took a step to download an app and learned a language? How could that transform our world wherever we are? So that's my reflection. Thank you for
Thank you.
listening.
Thank you so much. Like hearing that, like taking the moment to think about our responsibility and our roles in community. Thinking about how we can continue to show up, right? Whether it's like through downloading an app, something like that, or just like being willing, right, to like be vulnerable and practice our clunky, versions of ourselves.
I can add, in addition to being vulnerable, it's also being brave, right? Like you just described how you move past like, oh, I don't think I can do this, and realize that you could, and just, did it. And so I think that it just invites us also to challenge ourselves a bit more when we realize that we need to step in.
I want to make space for one more person if you'd like to share. Be verbal or in the chat. Oh yes, a juicy one from Kat. Kat says, I noticed that for me, some answers were clear yeses or nos, but with others, I was quantifying and qualifying some of my answers. So seeing how clearly some prompts answers landed for others further pointed out privileges I hold. Just noticing our privilege. I'm hearing, just taking some time. Sometimes that pause gives us a chance to kind of question, where do we have access? Maybe some blind spots. Did you want to add anything else to that, or is there anyone else want to add? Telesh, te lo paso a ti.
Okay, Telesh, pass you the mic.
Yeah, we really are grateful that you all participated in this. I can't believe that our hour is like up in a couple of minutes. So just really grateful for your participation. And we also invite you to sit with some of these, maybe uneasiness, some questioning, some affirmations, right? You all are all about to go into a week-long event, from my understanding, and you're going to be participating in spaces where there will be interpretation, some spaces there won't be interpretation or translation offered. And so, yeah, just kind of noticing throughout the week what that looks like, what that means, right? The language justice for us, it's making sure folks fully participate, right, in the language that they're most comfortable with and connected to. And so what does that mean? And what does that look like in a conference setting, right? Who's in the room? Whose voices and perspectives are out there and up there, right? And so I know that the organization is beginning this journey, and that is part of the reason why we are here. And so we wanted to share some of our work with you all. And in order to do that, we wanted to offer some of the reflection questions that will be added in the chat for you all. And then we also wanted to share what we just did, right? What you just saw and experienced in this session was two interpreters beginning in English and Spanish, right? The languages that are represented in this room or in this conference. We also had two people doing live text translation, as you experienced in the chat, right? There's a lot happening in that back end. And also there was translated documents, right? You saw that the PowerPoint was bilingual. And so that does take time and planning and preparation, and language justice is intentional and also slow because we want to be super clear that we want to have our languages fully present and not have this dominant language, which is in this country is English. And so this is one example of it, and we hope that you found it helpful. We are going to share some resources for y'all to go over through some of what we just did. There's some articles, there's some videos, there's also some toolkits in there for you all, so you can dive in and nerd out because we do it. And so we invite you to look into those resources that we're sharing with you all. And our contact information is also in there if you are curious and want to talk more about this, or your organization is interested in this work. Ahí estaremos, ¿no? Entonces, muchísimas gracias por su tiempo, les apreciamos.
And we'll be there. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. And we hope to see you.
And if you want to share a reflection, you can put it in the chat, or maybe we'll have like a minute or two on how this was for you all. But thank you so much. Have a good evening or afternoon, wherever you are.